So many of you have been asking me to do gender-specific lists of various brands and or specific notes or styles and categories and fragrances. I thought to myself, well, there is a new fragrance launching from the house of Tom Ford, which is part of the private blend collection, Café Rose. Now it's going to a ladies targeted bottle, unisex to a woman's targeted release. So I thought I'd put together two lists back to back of Tom Ford, starting here with a feminine list, and then also tomorrow with a masculine list. So find out about my top 10 favorite Tom Ford fragrances for women coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about top 10 Tom Ford fragrances for the ladies. Do you guys have this rule? If it's a fragrance targeted to the ladies, then it's specifically for the ladies. If it's targeted to the men, it's specific for the men. Now, I hear from men and women that they wear the opposite sex's fragrances. And as I said, I have no problem with this particular scenario. If I like a certain fragrance, I don't have a problem wearing it. But you guys have been asking for specific lists, and I've got one for you today. And also the fact that we are now anticipating Café Rose, that is moving from the private blend collection into the signature line. It is now taking on a new bottle and the similar bottle to Noir Femme. So Noir Extreme had launched several years ago. Then they launched Noir Femme as well. And they have that bottle. Now Café Rose is going into that bottle. So let's say this. Let me ask you this question before I move on to the list. Now that it is moving into this feminine bottle, those of you that are men, will you wear Café Rose if you like Café Rose? When you had it in private blend, do let me know. Put a comment down. But we are doing a feminine targeted list today, and I've got top 10 Tom Ford fragrances with a couple of bonus options as well. We're going to go ahead and get started with the list with Jasmine Rouge at number 10. So let me know if you're a fan of Jasmine Rouge. I feel like Jasmine Rouge has been around for quite some time, and it's definitely a floral fragrance. And for me, floral notes do lean feminine. I have no problem with fragrances, as I said, but I do categorize the notes that are florals and things like that to the feminine scale, and then darker woods and tobacco and things like that go into more of a masculine scale. For me, Jasmine Rouge is a gorgeous jasmine fragrance, and it has kind of a classic edge to it. It's very focusing on that jasmine flower, and then there's some aromatics that come in. There's some amber, there's some spices, peppery spices in here as well, some sage as well. It's quite gorgeous, and I feel like there's a bit of more like a solar flower or floral note. I can say this is pretty solar for me. It's definitely very sunny, sunshiny. It's a bit lacking of the citruses, but I feel like there are some citruses under there. But if you're into the idea of jasmine, you definitely got to get your nose on Jasmine Rouge. Definitely it's a jasmine bomb, but of course other things come in as well. Very spicy, very ambery when it's drying down. And then you've got some aromatics in there as well. So at number 9, it is Café Rose, this one right here. So Café Rose was, it's been around for a while. I think this one launched in 2013. I believe it launched, maybe it was in 2013. It launched somewhere around there. And at one point it had that purple label. So it could have been like the early 2010s. And I've been a fan off and on, and I've had a bottle here for a while. And I do enjoy it once in a while. But as I mentioned in a video recently, it's on the dry side. Not like Intense Cafe from Montal, which is all very creamy lactonic. This one's definitely more on the dry side. Currently, this version features notes of Turkish rose, Bulgarian rose, May rose, along with coffee, incense, patchouli, sandalwood, amber, and black pepper. The coffee in here is definitely the idea of coffee grounds. It's definitely dry, as I said, and you don't have anything kind of milky, lactonic kind of a consistency. But if you like the idea of coffee and rose together, it's a rose bomb for sure. There's loads of rose here. Of course, as I said, Turkish rose, Bulgarian rose, May rose. It's definitely you're swimming in rose here with this fragrance along with the coffee. So if you like that idea, definitely check out Café Rose. And I'm curious to smell the new version. I know there are fans of Café Rose. We'll see what happens. Are they going to reformulate it? Of course, it's going into a changed up bottle now. We'll see if it's as good as the original. At number 8, it is Lost Cherry. This one right here. This is a very popular, kind of a girly fragrance, and I like the smell of it. It's definitely one of my favorite cherry fragrances. They've done a great cherry fragrance here. A little boozy, definitely nutty, almondy, a little bitter as well, and some rose under there as well. Definitely fun. This is a very fun fragrance, focusing on the cherry. And now that we've got a couple more cherry fragrances from Tom Ford, Electric Cherry and Cherry Smoke, didn't make the list. This one's definitely still solid compared to those two. I enjoy this the most, and I think still do enjoy this cherry fragrance next to all the other cherry fragrances out there. Tom Ford came out with this one, and I think they did a good job with it. Not one of my all-time favorite Tom Ford fragrances, but definitely on the feminine side for sure, and a fun, playful, happy, fruity fragrance focusing on cherries. It's Lost Cherry from Tom Ford at number 8. Then we've got Tom Ford's Bitter Peach. Again, Lost Cherry and Bitter Peach are the naughty fragrances from Tom Ford. Those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, go catch my video on these two fragrances along with a few other fragrances that I categorize as X-rated, because their the names, and then if you look up the names, they're just a bit on the naughty side, obviously, including that FF fragrance. But this one, to me, is a little better than the Lost Cherry for sure, because I like the patchouli in here, and also the booziness, and there's definitely that Peche de Vigne, or Vigne. I think it means peach on the vine, which is definitely here. And it's definitely very solid with the peachiness. But along with the peach and that patchouli, because there's definitely loads of patchouli here, you've got blood orange, Davana, rum, and sandalwood. There's definitely a creamy vibe here. The sandalwood is definitely on that creamy, milky consistency, so it adds a kind of a light lactonic layer to the fragrance. But it's all very, very peachy and orangey. So the blood orange, the peaches are in your face along with that kind of earthy patchouli. And then this fragrance starts reminding you a little bit of Angel, Mugler's Angel, but kind of a peachy take on it. If you like that idea, definitely check this one out. I enjoy this fragrance more than Lost Cherry, but still, it's not one of my all-time favorite feminine leaning fragrances from Tom Ford. So this is Bitter Peach from Tom Ford. Then moving on to this flanker of a very popular Tom Ford fragrance. This is Black Orchid Parfum, this one right here. Black Orchid is a feminine targeted release, but I know a lot of men wear it, and they also list it as a male fragrance. So it's kind of a toss-up. Again, there's no rules with fragrances. If you like the idea of a fragrance, wear it. Don't say, okay, that one is for men. I'm not going to wear it. Because I know a lot of ladies that wear a lot of masculine fragrances, and I also know a lot of men that wear kind of on the feminine leaning fragrances. But this one, to me, I think it's right down the middle. It's very, very unisex. It has black truffle, black plum, rum, Ylang-Ylang, patchouli, and black orchid. Definitely, if you like the idea or DNA of black orchid, definitely try this one. The amplification of the plums is in here. It's definitely more boozy, so it has a fruitiness, definitely has that earthiness, and the idea of the earthy patchouli comes in for sure. It's sweetened up with all those other notes, and then of course it's also a bit tropical floral as well. Very unique DNA for sure. Probably one of the best DNAs out there from any brands, because this fragrance has had so many different flankers. I feel like it's already had an eau de toilette, and I think I read that they're doing another eau de toilette of the original Black Orchid. But I prefer the Black Orchid Parfum the most, and I've ranked it here at number 6. So this is Black Orchid Parfum. Let me know if you're a fan of these fragrances so far and what you think about them. And also, what do you think about these fragrances that I have in this list, feminine leaning, compared to being just unisex fragrances? Again, I have no rules. These are unisex to me, but I feel like they're perfect for someone like you that focuses on, you know, fragrances that lean feminine and masculine, and you can kind of tune into the videos and find those kind of fragrances. But at number 5, we've got Rose d'Amalfi, this one right here. I feel like when this first came out of the 3 Rose Garden, I think that's what they were called, Rose Garden collection fragrances, this was definitely my favorite. It was Rose de Chine, Rose de Russie, and then Rose d'Amalfi. Rose de Russie is gone, no more, for obvious reasons. But again, it wasn't my favorite. I preferred this one right away. It's a bit gourmand, but also nutty, like almondy, because it has heliotrope in here. That's a note. It's powdery, and it's this purple flower that creates a bit of an almondy undertone. It's Rose Absolute, Rose Water, Italian Bergamot, Pink Pepper, and Heliotrope. So there's definitely a little spice in here, but it's a gorgeous rose. Really wears beautifully, kind of gourmand and also nutty almondy, as I said, but a bit cozy and powdery at the same time. Rose d'Amalfi at number 5. Let me know if you're a fan of this one. Let me know if you're a fan of those 3 fragrances, and I don't know if you can still get your hands on Rose de Russie or not, but they're not selling it here in the States anymore. Moving on to number 4, this is Soleil Blanc. Definitely on the feminine side, but I like this one for its solar qualities, tropical beachiness as well. So according to my research, this has Coco de Mer, not necessarily coconut, but Coco de Mer as a note. Still kind of coconutty for sure. Along with benzoin, there's tonka beans, Ylang-Ylang, Jasmine, Tuberose, and Bergamot. It's definitely very sunny, sunshiny, beachy, solar fragrance. Definitely the idea of hanging out at the beach on an island where it's always tropical. You can smell the kind of warmth in the air. All of this, and perhaps imagine it as suntan lotion and things like that. To me, this is super delicious. I really love it, and I think ladies would love this one as well. That's why I ranked it pretty high here on the feminine list for Tom Ford fragrances. So Soleil Blanc is at number 4. And then we've got, still not discontinued, still selling. It still sells at Sephora, but I believe they no longer sell the decanter bottles, the large 250 ml bottles. This is Tom Ford's Vanille Fatale. So this was a kind of a milky take on vanilla. For me, it's definitely got that kind of milkiness under there, and then also a bit of carameliness with this one as well, with a floral edge. Like there's lots of flowers here, and it's definitely the opposite of Tobacco Vanille. I don't have Tobacco Vanille on this list. It's on the list tomorrow, but we've got 2 different vanilla fragrances available at Tom Ford. One on the feminine side, and of course Tobacco Vanille on the male side. It's very full of tobacco in that one. But this is vanilla with suede leather. There's barley here, there's myrrh, there's a little bit of coffee, a little bit of boozy rum. There is tobacco, but really not a tobacco vanilla fragrance, but mahogany in addition to that, and also olibanum. Very cozy. This is one of the coziest fragrances for me. Definitely has a very cozy vibe with this fragrance, and it's a vanilla fragrance that's delicious for me. Lactonic and milkiness comes in as well, but it's super cozy, as I said. Really comforting, inviting, welcoming, and a really delicious vanilla fragrance. So this is Vanille Fatale from the house of Tom Ford. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. I don't think it's as popular as Tobacco Vanille, obviously. That's why they don't have that large decanter anymore. Although I think Tom Ford does different things. They had discontinued. They might have brought it back. I didn't look it up, but most likely they don't. But moving on to number 2, it's Rose Prick. This one right here. Rose Prick has really kind of become a favorite of mine from this house. And I do enjoy their rose fragrances, and I like this one. It's a spicy kind of a chypre style rose fragrance featuring rose with Sichuan pepper. There's turmeric here, patchouli, tonka beans. The idea of a bit of bergamot comes in here as well. It's definitely a very spicy, earthy take on patchouli, and that Sichuan pepper has a kind of peppery edge to it, and also a bit of a lemony edge as well. You can definitely experience the lemony vibe in this. Really in there, but for me it's all about the roses, lots of them, and then the patchouli in the base, the earthiness, light chocolatiness with that patchouli as well. But for me, this is a really great fragrance. It was not a love when I first got it, but it's grown on me a lot, and now I really do enjoy it, especially when I kind of smelled it and realized that this is definitely going into that chypre style, and a bit classic perhaps as well, because I do enjoy classic fragrances. I do enjoy chypres, and this is kind of like Tom Ford's take on a chypre fragrance. More modern chypre. The next one's even more chypre. But either way, this is Rose Prick, one of the X-rated fragrances from Tom Ford. And then I'm ending the list at number 1 with the Noir de Noir. So this fragrance is on both lists, and I feel like it's a very unisex, very earthy take on rose and patchouli and also oak moss. So we've got a rose chypre here once again, and this is super delicious, guys. This is one of my first Tom Ford decanter bottle purchases, and I used to wear so much of it, like 8 years ago. Get compliments as well. Really smelled great on me. It has gotten diluted a little bit, but still the smell is just very intoxicating. And I absolutely love the way this this creation is. This is hands down one of the best smells ever for me. But it is lots of rose with patchouli. There's truffle here, which is the stuff that grows underground that is very, very expensive. Vanilla, oud, saffron, oak moss, and floral notes. Absolutely wonderful. It deserves the #1 spot. It's a very, very unisex fragrance, but I'm putting it here on the feminine Tom Ford list. But a really, really delicious rose Chypre fragrance. Absolutely love it. Either way, #1 is Noir de Noir from the House of Tom Ford. This is the top 10 Tom Ford fragrances for women. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrances and also what's missing. If you realize I have more private blend here because that's what I have. Also, they don't have a lot of signature line fragrances for the ladies, do they? I think this is pretty much it, this collection of Black Orchid fragrances. And of course, I also left off a lot of the freshies. In fact, I've got hardly any freshies here, and I felt like those are definitely not the kind of fragrances I want to highlight if I'm going to be gender specific. But either way, let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Let me know what's missing in my collection so I can add it perhaps in the future if I can get a bottle. Buy a bottle inexpensively, because Tom Ford has gotten so expensive, guys. In fact, from what I hear, there has been another increase in price from Tom Ford fragrances. Have you guys noticed this? What are you guys doing? Where are you buying your Tom Ford fragrances? Let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. But either way, thanks so much for watching today's video. Stay tuned tomorrow for the male video, the masculine for men fragrances by Tom Ford. But please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Okay, we do have a couple of bonus options here. These are very, very unisex fragrances, but one of them, even though targeted unisex, definitely leans masculine for me. It's a leathery fragrance. This is Ombre Leather. This is a very popular fragrance from Tom Ford in the signature line. It launched as a limited edition private blend. In fact, I had a bottle in the private blend bottle, and it went away, and then they brought it back like a year or maybe 2 years later as a signature line fragrance, which is great. This is what really kick-started their whole transition from private blend fragrances over to the signature collection. Less expensive, quality fragrances. And this is definitely a great fragrance for me. I enjoy it more than the PARFUM. I love the way it smells. It's a great leather fragrance. Sure, it reminds me a bit of Tuscan leather, but for me this is actually less expensive and does the job of Tuscan leather. Tuscan leather is a bit more rougher, but this features notes of black leather with violet leaf absolute, cedarwood, iris, green tobacco, jasmine, sambac. It's a great fragrance. If you like the idea of leather fragrances the way that Tom Ford does, definitely try Ombre Leather from Tom Ford. I think you're gonna enjoy it. And this next one, again, it's a unisex fragrance, but I feel like this one kind of does lean into the feminine side, whereas Ombre Leather does lean on the masculine side. White Suede is an awesome musk fragrance. Really great, very sexy, with a bit of suede note. That's why it's called White Suede. Features suede, saffron, musk, thyme, rose, and warm amber. It's a skin scent. If you like subdued fragrances, this is it. If you like intimate fragrances, this is it. It's very sexy, very musky, a bit rosy, as they say. It does develop into an amber, but there's that idea of like a suede leather note in here. Very supple, very soft and creamy. This is definitely very cozy. I really do enjoy it. You can wear it on its own, and I think you can also layer this with some other fragrances because it is definitely not a screamer fragrance. Like, I would never layer, well, I guess I would layer it with some things, like Tom Ford's Ombre Leather is really a bit difficult to layer, you know, because it's so substantial on its own. But White Suede, on the other hand, you can layer it with a rose because it has rose in it. It can amplify the rose note. You can layer it with an amber or a leather. I feel like you can do that with this fragrance because it's not very substantial. But either way, White Suede, definitely a great bonus option here. Unisex, but leans feminine. No rules with fragrances. Wear what you want when you want. And then again, as I said, stay tuned for the male version tomorrow. Have a good one. Goodbye.